Everyone, welcome back to the Lighthouse Sessions. I'm excited. I have my longtime friend. I can't even remember. I think 2020 is when we sort of started hanging out. Steven Kuhn. Steven, why don't you introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about who you are, what you do, and then we'll get into that global conversation.
That'll take a while. Okay, so no, I'm an American. I joined the military with 19, got shipped off to Germany, stayed there for 6 years, went to Iraq and fought in a war, went back to Germany, got out, stayed as a civilian. I didn't even go back to America. I just literally got out there in Germany and opened up my first business a year later. It was a cocktail bar. Then I opened up 2 more. Then I opened up a nightclub, then a consulting company, and then a construction company, insurance agency, all these kind of things. And I wrote a best-selling book, got my MBA, ran a corporation, sold those businesses, bought more, just back and forth. And I sort of always did what I did, but I did it in different countries. So I've lived in 10 countries in the last 37 years, right, since I got out of the military. Jesus, that's old. That makes me old, doesn't it? So, and currently residing between the United States, Hungary, and Turkey. I'm in Turkey right now. And now I'm very active with Take America Back, which is a civic organization, which is taking America back through local governance. And I've written the Doctrine, which is a citizen servant leader doctrine, which shows citizens how to step up, become responsible for their communities, because if we don't do it, no one will. And what's happening now in the world will keep happening, and one day we'll turn around and say, why didn't we do anything? So it's funny that I did this just on personal feelings, and it suddenly took off to the point where people are like, something like this doesn't even exist. It never existed. There was never a training program for citizens. And I was like, it was only for politicians. People wanted to run for politics. No, this is for every citizen. Because the books all derive from my original book, which is where we met with Unleash Your Humble Alpha. That's the original core. And then there's 5 other books in the Doctrine. And then there's 2 other books as field manuals, and then the Constitution in plain English, and so on and so forth. And it's really exploded. So that's what I do now. I raise funds. I'm still in the M&A space. I still have my Wednesday calls for the last 8 years. I've been doing them every Wednesday with people all over the world, talking about doing deals, joint ventures, collaborations, getting funding. I did like 2.7 billion or 2.17 billion last year in funding deals. Doing all right. But I think the one thing that I can say about myself is I never fit in a box. I never fit in a frame, and I tried, but I was always that weird dude, that weird guy that just was always. Is he successful or isn't he? What's he doing? How can he do? I remember one time.
Go ahead.
I just remember one time I was running a corporation. I was in Zurich, Switzerland, and Apple, a recruiter from Apple, called me, and they said, we'd love to talk to you about being a cluster manager. A cluster manager manages like 2 or 3 countries, right?
Yeah.
And it would have been DACH, Germany, Austria, Switzerland, Deutschland, Österreich, Schweiz. So I went to 14 interviews or 15 interviews, ridiculous, right? And then I met the director from wherever they're from in America, the second one underneath Steve Jobs at the time.
Yeah.
And he's sitting there like this. And he goes, I think you're fake. I was like, what do you mean? He goes, I'm looking at your resume and what you say you're doing now. There's no way you can do. You live in Hungary. You fly here every week to Switzerland. You run a corporation. You got 3 businesses in Germany. You got 2 that there's no way you can do all that. There's no way. And I said, look, you delegate the task, not the responsibility. I'm not doing the work. I'm not day to day, And he goes, oh, write that down. And then I went back about a week later to tell him I'm not taking the job, and it was across the whole wall. Delegate the task, not the responsibility. So sometimes you think it's normal what you do, and then you meet someone who runs Apple, who then says, "My God, that's genius," and you're like, "Wow, that's really strange," because for me, it's common sense. You know what I mean? So I think we as humans, we undervalue our knowledge in specific areas, or we undervalue our worthiness. You think, oh, it's big corporation Apple, they know everything. They didn't. So for me, that was a big highlight in my life, because I was like, I was almost like a tick on my walking stick. You know what I mean? Like,
okay, we can unwrap that a little, but I have to go back to you at 19, because honest to God, Steven, I cannot see you in the military following orders. It just doesn't compute. You were either the
Well,
worst guy on the base or you were the most successful because you were never allowed near the base. I don't know which, but you were not
oh my
regular
God.
Army,
Well,
were you?
it's funny you say that because my father, years later, he told me, he goes, I never figured out how you made it in the military because there was no way that you were going to take orders from anyone.
Nope.
And what I did was, and this is the honest to God truth. So when I was in high school, I had a disco mullet, like Danitario sort of disco mullet. It was like back here, it was feathered back with a part in the middle, ridiculous. And I wasn't very well liked. I didn't like myself. I had 4 or 5 stepfathers by the time I was 18. The one stuck a gun in my mouth. The other one beat me. I had a suicide attempt at the age of 14. So I didn't like myself. And so when I had the chance to join the military, I said, no one likes me. I don't like me. So this is my chance to leave everything and start over. And I'm sitting in the chair in Fort Knox, Kentucky, and they're cutting my hair with this razor, with it cutting it all off, right? And it was a lot of hair. And I was looking in the mirror going like, this is the new you. You're never going back.
Wow.
And so I embraced everything. As hard as they made it, I made it harder. So when they said we're running 10 kilometers, I would double it and I'd do it at night. So I'd run 10 in the morning for physical training. And then at night I'd do it again on my own. Everything they told me to do, I doubled it. Like I said, I am going to crush myself and come out the other side an animal, or I'm going to die trying. And it was in the barber chair. It was literally in that moment, I felt a cosmic shift in who I was, And now through that, through my experience, through everything that I've done, through all of the politics and the entrepreneurship and all this kind of stuff, I've learned when to heed and when to speed, if you know what I mean, right? So I've learned my lessons the hard way. So you're right. I couldn't join the military again unless I was in charge.
yeah. If they gave you the entire operation run, I think you'd be fine. I'm fascinated because I meet a lot of entrepreneurs who went into the military, and it was the thing they needed to become who they were. But looking at them now, it's like I could not see you. I think I told you this when we first met. I lasted 2 weeks. I didn't even make the basic training, and I live in a landlocked province, and they ordered me to call the building a ship. And my brain was like, I can't accept that order. And they looked at my papers. They said, we never do this, but please go away and don't come back.
Dude, I had problems in Iraq. I almost lost it. I had a guy a commander telling me what's something to do that I didn't want to do because it made absolutely no sense. And instead of saying I won't do it, I just kept saying, I don't understand your order. I can't comprehend your order. He was freaking out. He almost shot me, that's how mad he got,
Yeah.
Someone intervened, but I get it because sometimes you're just like, it doesn't matter how much I want to do this. I can't do it because it's not.
My brain says it's wrong. Yeah. I can't say it's okay. And, I will forever, when I think of you, I think of the opening to Humble Alpha and the little girl in the pink dress. That I still tear up when I hear about your book. It's like, damn it, Steve.
Well, it's, I still tear up when I tell the story. It was the most impactful moment in my life. And as the years go by and I understand better who I am, I know why I did what I did, right? And if I look back now, at the time I was like, oh, I could have helped her and I should have done this or should have done. And now it's like the things that I think about in war, the PTSD and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, it's from combat, but the biggest, I don't know if it's trauma or regrets or whatever it is the things that I didn't do when I was in war, that I should have done morally that I didn't do. That's what hits me the hardest. And typically you have veterans, they get out of the military, and they stay a veteran. They stay that identity, they keep that hardness, because there's a statistic, the older you get, the more severe the PTSD gets, because you're pushing it away. I'm hardcore, the beard, the sunglasses, the tattoos, all that kind of stuff. And I didn't do that from the very get-go. I got out of that right away. When I took out a uniform, I wasn't a soldier anymore, not because I didn't want to be, because I literally, like, I don't know, 2 or 3 months after I got out of the military, I was a doorman at the Hard Rock Cafe in Berlin, Germany, right? And I was sitting there. I had just got back from Iraq, 6 or 8 months or 10 months earlier.
Yeah.
And, when you're in the military, you have your name, your awards, your combat patch, your unit patch, your regimental affiliation, service stripes, combat stripes. No one has to talk to you. They know exactly who you are, what you've done, know your name, know everything. Then you get out. I'm standing at the door of the Hard Rock Cafe, and this kid comes up. Hey, I'd like to go in. I'm like, sorry, you got to be 18 to get in. And he goes, F you, old man, get a real job. And in my head, I'm like, I just got back from war. I was in charge of $50 million of equipment and like 12 guys. And this little pissy man's calling. You know what I mean? It's like you kill somebody, right? And that was the moment for me where I said, man, I got to drop this identity because that's not who I am anymore, and it's not going to serve me. So you either build on that or you move on and use it as fuel. And that's what I did. I moved on and used it as fuel. As a matter of fact, I didn't get involved in the veteran space between 1993 and 2017. That's when I went back in 2017. That's when I met Lane, somebody else, yeah.
Well, let's talk about what you're doing now, because I think who you've become, I mean, obviously, I can see the seeds right from the beginning. You were going to be this person once you became aware of who you are, because I think, I've only known you as post, you've done all this work, and I've always, from the day I met you, if I can support you, I am here. Let's talk about the work that you did to get you where you are today, because I think a lot of people are very inclined to say, I'm just one person, I can't do this. And you've just never had that in your head that I've known you. Well,
I think it starts with not being scared to fail. And I don't mean that in some kind of like rhetorical manner. I mean, for real. Like, you freaking go all in or just stop, do something else. Number one. Number two, don't be scared to drop everything and go somewhere else. People are like, I can't move to Texas or whatever. Like, hell, I've moved countries 10 times. I went, you got to realize, I was in Germany. I was a best-selling author. I was an MTV VJ. I was a newscaster. I had my MBA at successful businesses. I left and I was in the royal scene, and I was doing balls with Bill Clinton and all kinds of stuff. Galas, not balls, galas. Yeah. And the Bal de Paris and all this kind of stuff. And I left all of that, went to Hungary. No one knew who I was. I loved it. I was like, now I can, all the mistakes I made then, now I can fix them now. And I went to the next country. Oh, I can fix what I made the mistakes there and there. And I just kept honing myself, because I think the biggest problem we have is the expectations of other people about us. So we feel like we have to fit in to whatever their expectations are, whether it's your boss, your wife, your kid, whatever, it doesn't matter. And so we're often doing things we don't even want to do, right? Because, well, I'm here, I have to do this. This is what I chose. You didn't choose anything. Choose to be you, And one of the biggest facilitators for that was plant medicine. So I used to go to Peru every year for twice a year, working with ayahuasca and San Pedro, which is the masculine and the feminine and the holistic and the grounded. And I would just make decisions on the spot and be like, okay, I'm done with that. I'm doing this. And I'd come home and they'd be like, my women, whoever I was with, would be like, do you have something else going? No, not yet. But I'm not worried about it.
It will come. And for what it's worth, I've never seen you slow down even to pause and consider. Like, you don't understand the word defeat. Like, you just, everything for you is a lesson, and you're moving. It's great.
Well, believe me, I had, my biggest, even look, I had a massive suicide attempt in 2008, where you read about it in the book. After that night, I called my friend Michael in Austria and said, look, if you don't come get me, I'm not going to be here tomorrow. I'm not going to make it. So he sent me he sent me a plane ticket. I went to Austria, and he dumped me into a monastery in the mountains of Austria, right? I spent like 8 months there.
Friend.
Yeah. And so I spent like 8 months there, right? And no phone, no internet, no TV, no outside, nothing, just months, right? First 2 weeks, I was stir crazy. After that, I didn't want to leave. But what I did do there, I readjusted my DNA, I guess you could say. Yeah. And it's pretty much bulletproof. I mean, believe me, I still have hard times. I still have the moments, the depression and that kind of stuff. That's just something that you carry with you once you've been to war, I think. But I have ways to get through that now. And I got my wife, who's amazing, supports me in everything that I do. But in the end, if I want to leave tomorrow, I'll leave tomorrow. Like we'll go to America, or we'll go whatever. Like we were in Venice the last 4 days. We were in Venice because it was like, let's go to Venice. Okay, what about this? Like it, we'll deal with it there. You know what I mean? Like we'll just go. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like if people say these words, you only live once, and you got to be your own individual. But for most people, that's just words. I mean it. Like,
well, and honestly, most people are owned by their possessions, and they let all of these things hold them back. So,
yeah, and I don't have debt. I don't have any ball and chain holding me down anywhere. I don't own anything anymore. Got rid of all of it. We travel, we have fun, we have joy, and I'm building the first ever citizen servant leader doctrine that ever existed in America. And for me,
let's talk about the origins of that, because I think too many people trust the system will sort it, and it's like
no. Well, no. This is what happened. So my wife's Ukrainian, and back in December 24, when the UK sent missiles to Ukraine to be shot into Russia, I just did a video, like for no reason. I'm like, what the hell is going on? What is wrong with these people starting World War III and da 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 da?
Yeah.
Well, that video went viral, like 50 million views, right? I didn't do anything with it. Then 30 days later, I said, let me do a second one. So I told the story about bringing her parents from Ukraine during the war to bring them here, to bring them to safety, and all that kind of stuff. That went viral, another 30 million views. And I said, well, let me just do one a day and see what happens. So I started doing a video a day. I was getting 1 million views every day. It was crazy. And then I started switching up from Ukraine to, hey, what's going on in Germany? And then what happened in America? And it just took on. And then I started looking, and I'm thinking, like, when we started the Civil Coalition in Germany, which became the largest non-party political organization, we were talking about the citizens and the citizens, sort of activism, not activism, but courage. And I said, in my videos, I would say things like, we need citizens, servant leaders to take this country back. I was just saying it because it felt like the only people, because everything's corrupt up there. If we change a president, we change a couple of senators, a couple of congressmen, nothing's going to change, right?
Yeah.
Because you don't get to that position unless you're already beholden in some way. So I said, the only way we can do it is change it at the local level. Then I started researching, and I saw there's 300,000 empty, vacant, or uncontested seats in America right now. And then I looked at how many counties we have, 3,144. And how many seats are vacant per county? There's between 5 and 10 seats per county. Wait a second. So we only need 30,000 people to fill these seats, and we can basically take America back? And that was the birth of the movement. And so, I do a video a day, and I wrote the 5 books, which is a doctrine. I wrote a couple other books to go with it, how to run for the seat, how to get the seat, what happens when you do get it. I have a field manual for people that are going to be active in that space, but it's really about self-leadership. It's really about self-leadership. First, your house, your street, so your family, your house, your street, your city, your state, the nation. So it's sort of like in that order. If we're not straight where we are, nothing's going to be straight. One person can't walk to a jungle and change it, right? Yeah. We have to go side by side into the jungle, all of us.
I love that. And, it's congratulations. You got me speechless, because I think so many people say someone else will fix it. And, one day I woke up and I realized I had a calling, and I fought it. I argued with the universe, God, whoever, and I said, I'm not ready. I'm not worthy. I had a lot of excuses. And the message I got loud and clear was, if not you, then who? And I went, oh, crap.
If not now, then when?
Yeah. And I'm sure you didn't wake up thinking I'm going to change the world. No. Now suddenly you can't not change it, right?
But I can tell you this. I've never done anything that was so effortless and organic. It grew by itself. We got like 30,000 subscribers, 2,000 of them supporting us financially. We have a credit card or debit card coming out. We have like just banks coming to me. It's amazing. I'm not taking money from anybody. It's all my money or supporters' money. And the supporters' money, the reason it is because it's got to be citizen owned. I can't be beholden. I can't take any organizations' money, no super PAC money, no PAC money, no political money, because then I'm just like everybody else.
Yeah.
Right? And that's sort of the big deal. And the way that I talk, I don't get emotional. I don't scream and yell. I don't cuss and swear. And the one thing that really made the difference for me, Jeff, was when I was starting to do videos, I'm like, what are these other people doing? So I'm watching everybody. You got all these people all the way from the left and all the way to the right, and everybody's complaining. Everybody's pointing out all the problems. But no one's given a solution. Nobody.
Yep.
That was the seed for me. I was like, how do we solve this, man? Like, why is everybody talking about it? Why do they have 70 million followers? All I do is bitch. Like, what do people do out of this? I don't get it. And for me, as a practical guy, I'm like, well, what's the solution? And then I started looking at it, and then off we go. And the next thing you know, I'm thinking like, we only need 30,000 people. That's it. 1 in every 8 American adults. 8,000 American adults. That's all we need. 1/100th of 1% is all we need of American adults to step up, and we got it.
I love the simplicity.
A lot of people aren't stepping up. Well, yeah, you have to, right? Break it down. You know?
Yeah.
And literally, I've created the training doctrine. We have a course coming out, so you can be actually tab certified. We have the training manuals, and then we have the Find Your Seat button at the top of the website. You click on it, put in your zip code, and you see the empty seats in your area. Literally, everything you need is right there. All that's left is I take you by the hand and I lead you there. That's all that's left, because and we want to open up 3,144 local chapters, county chapters of TAB. That's planning. And I have a lot of backing, a lot of excited people about it, but I'm not taking their money. So they're waiting until, we get this up and rolling bigger than it is now, which is pretty big. And then they're going to support us how they can.
So first of all, 3,144, not 143, not 145. Why that specific number?
That's how many counties there are in America.
Okay. I love your brain, Steven.
Yeah. Think about it. 3,144 counties, 300,000 seats are empty. Of course, there's some counties with no seats empty, but there's still uncontested people that are in those seats. I had a guy call me the other day, because of you can find my telephone number, unfortunately. And the guy called me the other day. He's like, "Hey, I have a question." I'm like, yeah. He goes, "You talk about the empty seats and uncontested. The mayor seat in my city is empty. Can I run for that?" I'm like, "If it's empty, you can probably get appointed." He's like, "Really?" I said, "Go do it." So he went, and they said, "Yeah, it's empty." And he's like, "Could I get it?" And he goes, "Yeah, come back tomorrow. We'll fill out the paperwork and we can see what we can do." He came back the next day and they said, "Oh, Joyce took it from so-and-so." So basically what they do is they leave it empty as long as they can, so they can control everything without a figurehead. And when he came to say, "I want to come in and change some things," which he shouldn't have said, they put someone in there who's on their side. And that's what happens. So you have precincts, for instance. Precinct is a voting precinct, right? Every city has a bunch of them. And a precinct chair or chairman or head, whatever you want to call them, captains, they call them sometimes, they're the highest political office in your county, right, or in your voting district. They decide who even gets to run. They decide who gets the money, if there is any. They get to decide who am I going to do a charity raise for to get this guy to win office or girl to win office. They decide all that. They're unpaid, appointed seats. Half of them, over 100,000 of them are empty right now in America, precinct seats alone, just precinct seats. And so I had a guy in Maricopa County. You might not know what it is. It's one of the most corrupt counties in America as far as voting goes, right? It's like it was in the news all the time and stuff. So a guy saw one of my videos and he said, "Hey, Steve, I want to apply for a seat." I'm like, "Go find the precinct captain." So I went to his church on a Sunday, asked if there was anybody in politics. Happened to be the guy was right there. They went to Starbucks, gave him the seat within an hour. Now he's a precinct in Maricopa County. He's an entrepreneur, and he's met and he's spoken with the mayor, the governor, the senators, all the politicians, and he even spoke at the Capitol building within a month. And he was never in politics, didn't even know what a precinct seat was until I saw my video. And now he's in the government forming policy. And
I love that.
Yeah. And it's that simple. It really is that simple. And people so before anybody says, "Why don't you fucking go do it? Hey, Steve, why don't you go do it? Well, you're telling us to run for, why don't you?" First of all, me alone, I can't change anything. But what I can do is I can create a path that's so simple and so clear and so easy for you to walk that I'll prepare you with everything that you need. All you need to do is step up. It's your community. It's not mine, right?
Yeah.
So that's what people say. Number one. Number two is some guy said, "Oh, it's easy for you. You're traveling the world and da-da-da-da-da." And I said, "Well, look, you're in America, right?" "Yeah, I'm America, full-time American." "All right, build what I've built now. Build what I've built, do what I do, and you're full-time American, so it should be better, right?" Well, I can't, I have a job. And I'm like, well, then stop talking. Either support us or move over, because there's people that want to do stuff, and everybody has a role. Like, this is my best example. Everyone can't drive the bus. There's one bus driver, everyone else is passengers. Doesn't mean he's better. That doesn't mean he's smarter. That just means that's his job, right? Yep. Same thing with the trains.
The seat.
Same with the firemen. You can't. Everybody's not not every citizen doesn't run into a fire. You're trained for that stuff. Mm-hmm. I trained the last 37 years in 10 countries, in 8 governments, working with world leaders. I mean, hell, I was on the phone. This is crazy. So I was on FaceTime with a guy in Chile, right? In Chile, sorry. He's a politician. And someone walked behind him and said, "Is that Steven Kuhn?" Like, on FaceTime. And he leaned in his face into the FaceTime. He's like, "Oh, Steven Kuhn, I watch your videos." Oh, yeah, cool, thanks. He goes, "I'm the Minister of Housing and Development. Is there any way we could license the TAB doctrine to install it here in our government?"
Wow.
Because the TAB doctrine is honesty, integrity, transparency, moral courage, and accountability. And the whole doctrine is built upon that, right? How to find corruption, how to see corruption, what's it look like when it's coming to you, when it's a smile on its face, and all that kind of stuff. And they loved it. And so I have people in the UK. I have a lot of Canadians, a lot, probably more than any other country. Like, please help us. Please help us. I don't know your system up there. I don't know how it works. My second stepdad was Canadian, so I spent a lot of time in Canada, in Bancroft, Algonquin National Park, in Toronto. That's basically where I spent my summers.
Nice.
For 4 years, during stepfather number 2. And so I wouldn't know what to do up there, but I can say this: there's more of us than there are of them. And the reason people don't do anything, and the reason that people don't stand up, the main reason, is the fear of loss. And that's weaponized debt. If your livelihood is built upon a mountain of debt, you're unfortunately chained, right? So it's during COVID, it hit me because I saw a police officer throw a guy on the ground and like break his nose for not wearing a mask. I'm like, dude, what are you doing? A friend of mine. He said, dude, if I don't do my job, I'm going to lose my job. If I lose my job, I can't pay my mortgage, my kids' college, da 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 da. And I'm getting my pension in 3 years. I'm not giving that up. I'm like, so wait a second. So you're infringing on someone's civil liberties, breaking their nose because they're not wearing a mask for $44,000 a year? Fucking kidding me? Are you freaking kidding me? Get a life.
It's sad how low the price tag is, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, see, that's how I think, Jeff. That's how I think. Like, how many people? Like, I did a video today on Gavin Newsom, right? Billions and billions and billions and billions of dollars wasted, corrupted, all this kind of stuff. It's $20,000 per household in California that was defrauded just this year.
Wow.
Per household of every household in California. $20,000. That's how I break it down. That $20,000 is a grocery bill for the whole year. It's a down payment for a car or a house. It's a car or a down payment for a house.
Yeah.
So that's how I think. You have to have people understand at the most basic level. Nothing's worse than talking in jargon and lingo with people who don't understand the jargon and lingo that you're speaking. Yeah. It's like when I say M&A, people go, huh? So I buy and sell companies, right?
Yeah.
So it's like you always got to speak in the basic English, 5th, 6th grade level English, so that you're not confusing people. You want buy-in, right? You want people to understand what you're saying, and you want them to take action. Look, there's 2 times in my life that I felt like this, where I knew this is it. Like this is it. I've surrendered. This is what I'm doing. First time was when I went to war. And at first I was like, oh my God, I'm in the military. Of course I could always go to war, but I never thought I would. It was a Cold War when I joined, right?
Yeah. And who warmed it up, damn it?
Yeah. Wait a second. This wasn't supposed to happen. And then I went to war, and I remember sitting there, and it came over me. I'm like, you know what? This is it. This is me. This is what I'm doing. This is it. If this is how I end, this is how I end. I'm okay with that. And I've never felt that since until TAB started. And I sat here one day and I said, yeah, this is it. This is everything. Like, this is me now. It's amazing. Yeah. It's amazing. And I think that's why it's so fluid and so sort of effortless. I mean, it's effortless growing it, but it's not effortless writing the books. So I'm not going to start believing. But, you write 7 books in 3 months. That's a lot of work.
Yep.
So,
well, when you find your calling, the universe guides you, and it feels less effort. That's
exactly. Exactly.
And honestly, I've watched you through the years. I've seen you excited about things, but this, I can feel the energy from LinkedIn. Just, it's like, okay, this is Steven stepping into his calling.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I'm fascinated to be on the journey with you. And I feel like putting local people with local stakes and business acumen in these empty seats, that's what's missing, because career politicians, all they know is they've been trained on how to be corrupt. No offense.
Yep. No. So and what is it? Three. I think every senator is a lawyer except for 3 or something like that. So they're all they're all into the minutia, into the little details, and they don't see the big picture. They don't understand the movement of the people. They don't understand urban versus rural. They don't understand that stuff.
Well, they're so busy making the rules that support what they're doing, they've lost sight of the morality that should guide them. And so now I could talk to you all day. I know you've got lots of things going on. So where can people go to learn more about Take America Back, or to follow the movement, so to speak?
Jointab.us is the website. There you can find your seat in your county. Just put in your zip code. You can support us, which I would really, really appreciate. You can look at all the books that we've brought out, and you can order them right directly from there onto Amazon. You can see our codex and our review and what's coming out in the course in the future. Sign up for the newsletter, which is quite cool because we go local. Tell stories about local politics and things like that, which is really, really cool. How citizens won and all this kind of stuff. If you want to follow me on social, it's the same almost everywhere except for X. It's Steven Eugene Kuhn on Facebook, on Instagram, on TikTok. It's all the same. There's 100 fake TikTok accounts with my name posting my videos, which is great for me, but horrible for anybody else. And on X, it's Steven E. Kuhn. That's because you can't have a long name on X. So Steven E. Kuhn. And come and chat with me. You're gonna like it because I get into it with everybody. We have some great followers. It's great because people try to they try to get me excited all the time, and they're always insulting me and calling me names and all this kind of. One day I'm a right winger, and the next day I'm a leftist, and when I'm a communist, and I'm a Putinist, and I'm a whatever. And it shows you the level of propaganda and cognitive dissonance that people are in now, because their worldview would completely crush if they actually knew the truth. So they stick to that story that keeps them, makes them feel safe, which I understand. And so what I'm doing is I'm helping them one step at a time. Read this book, check this out, see what this is about. Put your, just go to a school board meeting one time, read the budget before you go, pick one thing you don't understand and ask them about it. That's all you need to do, right? Show up. Imagine this. You're in your neighborhood. You got 10 neighbors to your left, 10, make it 5-5. That's 10 people. You put a WhatsApp group together and say, hey, for the next 6 months, 2 of us are going to go to a school board meeting or a city council meeting. Yeah. Who's going to go first? And that's how you can start. You don't have to run. Just put their feet to the fire. Show up. Yeah. Most of this, there's a council, a special board, it's called, at Lancaster, Pennsylvania. I looked it up because that's where my brother lives. There's a council that manages $2 billion. And there's no oversight. There's no oversight. There's no public hearings. There's nothing. And there's a vacant seat. Yeah. And I was like,
it's amazing what sucks into that vacuum if there's nobody there leading it, so to speak. So
it's too easy. It's too easy to steal. It's too easy to steal. Way too easy.
Yeah.
And I've had many chances in my life, and I've never done it. So I'm either stupid or I'm really honest. I mean, or both. I don't know, but people are like, dude, why? I turned down being a senator in America. There's only 100 senators in America. Like I was all the way to getting in office. And I turned it down. And there's people like, are you nuts, man? That would have been like the rest of your life. I'm like, exactly. I'd have been assassinated as the only senator ever because I wouldn't keep my mouth shut. So
yeah, you would not toe the party line. I'm sorry, that's just not your thing. Well, Steven, I want to thank you for being on the show, and thank you for leading this fabulous cause, and just thank you for shining your light in my world. So thank you for being on the show.
Real quick, Lighthouse. I think that's the perfect example of what people should be. A lighthouse is someone that beams the light. It doesn't have an opinion. Here's the rocks. Heat it or don't heat it. Up to you. We're all lighthouses.
Absolutely. And, I thought it was a metaphor when I first started, but I realized how people are literally fog bound.
Yeah.
And if you can't see where you're going, you stay put. So,
Amen,
so
brother.
I call my guests beacons. You are a beacon in my world. And thank you for being a fellow lighthouse keeper. So thank you.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Bye now.